Care about
Hey, welcome to Hoop Speak Live. I'm Beckley Mason with Zach Harper, Ethan Sherwood Strauss. How you doing, boys?
Thumbs up. Double thumbs.
Quad all around. That's good. Yeah, it's sort of the dog days of the NBA summer right now. Most of the free agents have been snapped up. There's sort of some lingering Dwight talk. Summer League is over. The Olympics haven't quite started. There was a game with Spain this week, but there is somehow lots to talk about. But on that dog chat, sorry, reading a chat said dog chat. On that dog days topic, I was talking about going to court yesterday, which I took the day off to do. And basically, we're all going to put it on our headphones now because we've got a pretty good. And what we found. Right, yeah, Zach, you're the best. What we found. So I went to court for something. I actually got a ticket when I was with Graydon Gordon and Jared Wade of True Hoop Network fame, and we went to the. Basically, had to go to like municipal court because I was going to be out of town of my appearance date, and we got charged with having the beer can in the park. Anyway, so I went in and got there, and I basically sat in the courtroom for 3.5 hours waiting to finally go on, and basically I finally got up there. I talked to the judge for 10 seconds next to this court-appointed lawyer who never introduced herself to me. I assume she's my lawyer. She stood right next to me. That's what I believe she was there for. Judge said it's illegal to have alcohol within New York State parks. Do you now understand that? I said yes, and that was the end of the entire interaction. I didn't get fined or anything. So basically, I didn't get off because what happened was New York City put me on timeout for like 4 hours yesterday. It just wasted my time. That was the punishment, that you had to enter into the bureaucracy of the city and have to hang out with people who got their doors tore off.
Oh, you shouldn't have broken the law.
About that. I didn't know it was the law. I didn't know. I was taken advantage of by Graydon, Brooklyn native, who dragged me to that park and forced me to carry a can of beer.
Well, you have something in common with a lot of the Minnesota Timberwolves roster in that you got away with it and society let you go. So I guess congratulations on that.
Wow.
I can sympathize to a certain extent, though, because I've gotten a lot of ticky-tack tickets in New York. It's that broken window theory. I've gotten two tickets on the subway for taking up double seats on an empty subway at 2 a.m. Just coming back from, I get sleepy. I want to stretch my legs, and apparently they have cameras there, and I've gotten, yanked off the subway. If you can't do that,
you're, acting like a homeless person on the subway, catching a snooze.
I just want to explain to them, I should be allowed to do this because I'm not homeless. This is clearly just designed to prevent homeless people from making your subway less appealing to the wealthy. But I'm just sleepy, I should be allowed.
I'm not a drunk who's going to leave bottles all over that, little kids are going to step in. I'm just a guy enjoying a Sunday afternoon brew.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the funny thing is, I was interrogated on what I was holding because I had one of those Whole Foods teas, and it just looks like malt liquor. It looks exactly like malt liquor, and the cop is going, what's that? Let me take a whiff of that. It's that's, it's green tea. I'm just sleepy. I just like to play out.
I can relate. My dad was a probation officer, so my license was shielded. So I actually got out of everything. I never got busted for ticky-tack stuff. I got really, let out of any infraction except for one speeding ticket because I was going even too fast for that. But other than that, I've gotten out of everything in my life. So.
Yeah, I had a friend in high school whose dad had been a Green Beret, and somehow he ended up on basically the same insurance as the cops were on. So if the cops gave him a ticket, it would hike up their insurance. So he just got out of he got pulled over 9 times in high school and never got a ticket because the cops didn't want to pay the extra 30 cents a month or whatever that my friend Morgan would have cost them.
You're just such a wasp. Your friend is named Morgan?
I know, seriously? This is... Really, you're
Anyway,
just
Ethan, assure us that you're not in a hostage situation right now. Where are you?
Bleacher Report is treating me well. Everything is going okay.
What about the current newspaper?
I'm in my apartment, and I have a green screen, and I do a lot of videos from time to time. I don't even know what I say. I totally black out while I'm doing
behind there.
A dirty kitchen. It's not easy to throw up the green screen.
Just a meth lab.
It's really sad. The green screen, it's the canvas for the visual artist. But in my case, it's just hiding that I'm messy. It's kind of a sad state.
All right, well, let's talk about the big event of this week, which was Spain versus U.S. Exhibition game, no Marc Gasol. What do you guys think?
It was all right.
Next question.
It was you just can't learn anything from
about Carmelo Anthony finally responding to Ethan.
Talk about Carmelo.
I saw him turn to the camera once after he hit it, and he just said,
Well, look, I don't think that we should necessarily be judging these players off their exhibition performances, but if we were, combined, he has the second worst plus-minus on the team behind Anthony Davis, who only played a few minutes. So, look, if you're going to point at that and say it's Carmelo's redemption, then you'd have to point at the other games and also bring up how bad he was.
Revenge specifically pointed at you.
Hey, I don't think I've ever claimed that he would play badly. I think I'm on the record. It's very important that Carmelo knows my position on how good he is. He cares immensely, and he reads everything I say. But he's a very good power forward. When he plays at the 4, he's excellent. When he plays at the 3, he takes a lot of dumb shots and takes too many outside shots. And I've seen that borne out on the Olympic level as well as the NBA level. And I personally don't quite see why he has a roster spot still.
What? What
do you mean what, Little John?
That's ridiculous.
Okay, so who did we leave off? Who was like we're thinking like Rudy Gay, Eric Gordon, like what? They need at least someone over 6'8" on this roster.
I think they're a little weak at the 2 position. I think it wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world to have Eric Gordon there. But as you bring it up, with the injuries they've sustained, it's not awful to have Carmelo Anthony. There aren't many choices. There aren't many choices to replace him if you do want a third guy in that power forward/small forward mode. It's just that they already have 2 guys in that 3/4 mode, so it's a little strange. It's a little strange to have Melo on board.
Melo's like a 3/4/5 on this team, though. It's really interesting, like watching how they're just committed. I mean, they're basically the extreme form of the Miami Heat on defense. Where they just absolutely blitz the ball screens, it's like terrifying. When someone comes off a ball screen, like Kevin Durant is just hedging full speed or like full steam, or LeBron James, and then that's the trap because they're so quick at recovering. I think that it'll be interesting to see if one of the adjustments Spain makes is running fewer ball screens where you're asking the guy, although Calderon looked good for a little bit, once they really started blitzing him, he had trouble. And I wonder if they're going to go to like a more flex-based offense or something to just pound it straight inside without using a ball screen to help the post player get position, which is how they're using it a lot with Powell.
I'd like to see that. I'd also like to see them go, as I'm terming it, full Utah when Marc Gasol comes back. I want to see Marc Gasol, Pau Gasol, and Ibaka. Ibaka in that role you wanted him in, guarding LeBron James, that you wanted OKC to do. Right. I want Spain to just say, forget spacing. We're going full Utah and playing our most talented players at once. What say you to the full Utah methodology?
I love the idea because it would ensure a USA medal, a gold medal, because there's no way that works. There's no way you can have Serge Ibaka guarding LeBron and you can have Powell guarding Durant. Like, that's never going to work. I'm a huge Powell fan. I'm not a huge Ibaka fan. He looked good in the first 8 minutes of the game and then was basically nothing.
He scored a lot of points for both teams. You got to give him that.
He really did. No, he might have had the most points the entire day.
I have a question. So, are we all rooting for Team USA in the?
Due to injuries, correct? Due to injuries.
I kind of feel like Team USA needs to take a bit of a self-sacrificing Batman move here. A little Dark Knight move.
Hold on. Before you go there, this is what I want to talk about. I think there are legitimate reasons, or at least you could form fun arguments about why you don't want to root for the U.S. I've got some. What are yours, Ethan?
Well, my Dark Knight angle is that to save the Olympics, they need to fail. They need to fail to add some intrigue, to add some drama to this. They just sliced through the exhibition competition, and now there isn't a sense of excitement. It just feels like inevitability.
Why does there have to be drama? Why does there have to be any drama with this? This isn't about like, oh, who's gonna take the shot in the clutch? No, they're gonna win by 25 points every game, except for there'll be one or two close games, and that's all that matters. We're not trying to build up drama. We're trying to win a medal. Michael Phelps isn't like waiting for a guy saying, "Come on, catch up. I need to have a good finish."
Although the fact that guy is getting closer is going to make it a lot more interesting. I don't know, Lochte, however you say his name.
Yeah.
I personally can't say it myself.
Lochte needs to go faster to make it a better race.
Whatever happened to the torpedo guy? Is he dead?
Yeah, every once in a while there's like some random South African or Australian who comes into the swimming field and has like feet that are 18 inches long and is really good at swimming. They're like basically one step away from Kevin Costner in Waterworld. But that's neither here nor there. I think the other argument is that the thing that I would like to see, I would like to also have it be very close, but I would like for international teams to try to really get weird against the U.S. and like face deny LeBron and then like randomly face deny someone else and like, as Ethan said, like go full Utah and just get weird. I think that this is an opportunity for teams like Russia that have like these kind of really funky systems to just keep expanding the way that we think of basketball. And
like just say three.
I'm gonna be I listen to myself in my inner monologue about like how much I start hating players from other teams. Like they'll make a great, beautiful play that I'll love, and I'll be like, oh, really annoying bounce pass. Nice, Machado. Like that's just great. Really cool with the bounce passes. So I don't think I can ever fight that patriotic urge. But I also recognize it would be fun if it became a world game in the sense that you could have really exciting World Cups for basketball.
Yeah, in all honesty, I am rooting for the U.S. On the one hand, I wanted to make the point that they're more vulnerable than perhaps we realize. So for the sake of intellectual vanity, it's almost better if they struggle. But on the other hand, this is one of the few instances where I can really enjoy jingoism, and I can just take pride in how awesome our basketball players are.
Here's where I have a problem with this.
I did it.
Is that everyone wants to talk about how the rest of the world has caught up, and granted, they have closed a significant gap. But if they really caught up, we wouldn't be having this conversation. This is where I get into like the Little League, everyone gets a trophy mentality. Not everyone should get a trophy. You should have to work for the trophy. And if they want the gold medal, they have to come take it from us. God bless America.
The Baconator strikes again. All right. I want to talk about something else that's we can notice on Team USA. You watch LeBron come on the baseline, hammer home a dunk, and he's like slapping fives big time with Russell Westbrook, who's probably they wanted to kill each other. Like they were just really those are two guys that didn't seem to get along during the finals. Now they're buddies. A lot of people have problems with great players being friends. Ethan, you wrote about this today. Your point, if you don't mind me summarizing your own words, was basically that if they're more focused on being really good at basketball than competing against one another, then you get opportunities for the two best players in the world to push each other in the summer, thus producing the optimal level of basketball. Is that a fair summary?
Yes, I think that's a fair summary. I love when you summarize what I write on Twitter because I usually do it in a fugue state at 2 or 3 a.m. And then I get it's almost like waking up from a night of drinking and trying to piece together what happened and just have somebody descend from the heavens and explain it to you. I just read your tweet and go, oh yeah, that's what I talked about last night. Cool.
No, I can't pay you, so I don't know what this is about.
Exactly. Basically, my thought on this is that we always think about these guys should get better just to beat each other, and that's the reason. It's just to prove that you're the manliest man, that you're the best, and that's probably what drove Michael Jordan. But what if you just really happen to love basketball? Maybe these guys want to just get better for the sake of getting better because they're basketball geeks and they're basketball nerds, and in order to do that, you would want to play with the other guys who are the best in the world. And I don't know what drives these people. I don't know them well, but I like to just sort of think about it, and I don't think it's such a bad thing if they're driven more by trying to learn from each other and just be the best basketball players they can be, irrespective of whether or not they're better than other dudes.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it. I mean, people like to pretend that nobody was friends in the 80s when, I mean, Magic and Bird hated each other until they actually hung out for a commercial shoot, and then they were the best of friends. Jordan was friends with Barkley and Ewing and everyone, but when he got on the court, then he was, regular jerky Jordan, which is just like, that's what it is now. Like, LeBron and Durant can like each other off the court. It doesn't mean they're going to take it easy on each other on the court. I mean, people were claiming that LeBron and Melo were just going to joke around on the court in the playoffs. I didn't see them smile at each other once. I think these guys know how to take care of business when they need to take care of business. It's not like everyone is out here like, lifting up Russell Westbrook to make sure he gets the dunk this time. That's not happening.
Well, I think...
Sorry, go ahead.
David Shields wrote about this in that great book on that one Sonic season, where it might offend fans at some level that they like each other better than they like us. These players, we think of them as extensions of ourselves and representatives of us, of the grand city of Oakland and the Bay Area, but really they're not from there, and they have more in common in this isolated highest strata of basketball with their opponent, with their rival, the other representative. So maybe them being friends offends us because we recognize that they're of a world that we're not of, and it makes the whole illusion of sports come crashing down.
I do like that you brought up Black Planet. It's an excellent book that people should read. It's actually a prequel to my book on this upcoming Timberwolves season, White Planet, that will be in bookstores in July.
Yeah, no, slide that right there. All right, we've got our first guest. You know him from Magic Basketball and from Hoop Speak, and also now from Portland Roundball Society. It is friend of the show, Danny Nowell.
Danny.
How you doing, man?
Live in the West Coast now, which is as weird as everyone says.
Right. So you went to UNC, which is the big basketball school, the ACC, of one of many, I guess. But basketball's sort of life there, and now you're in Portland, where they have a very famous kind of college vibe, so to speak, amongst their fans. What have you thought of living there?
Well, so as far as that goes, it's interesting because Portland is a Blazer town, but it's not a basketball town. It's
Ultimate Frisbee town.
I tried that, and I got Ultimate Frisbee sucks. I played on a club team for a while to try and find my sports fixture, but dude, it's weird because nobody plays pickup basketball, and when they do,
right.
It's really flattering because I'm a
Nice. So you haven't been there since the actual season has started, but this has been a fairly dramatic off season for Portland. Just Portland fans getting their ire up over what's going on with Nick Batum and Damian Lillard. If there's one player I do not have my mind made up about, it's Nick Batum. What do you think of this whole situation?
I like Nick Batum, but I am not big on the offer. I'm not big on him being a really important core long-term player. I think he's fine. I think he's a great player to have, and it's never a bad idea to have a versatile young guy. But he's overpaid. He doesn't do anything. For himself. What is it? He's assisted.
What is it you'd say you do here?
Well, he's assisted on 77% of baskets, which
right.
is astronomical. And so, like, when you see that he's really efficient at pretty big minutes, but the raw production isn't there, this is my cat Bojangles making an appearance.
Yeah, we see it.
Yep. I just don't think. I don't think he's got. People talk about him like there's this really high ceiling, and I think he's probably tapped it out. He's a nice player, but I don't think
He's only
paying
23.
But
Right?
I mean,
He's 24.
he's 23. But I don't see what evidence there is to suggest he's all of a sudden going to turn into this, like a second option, this fulcrum of an
type
offense.
player, right?
Yeah.
I was. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. What did you make of the kind of like back and forth between the Timberwolves? Like, for me, actually, we should probably bring Zach in on this. For me, the whole like Timberwolves versus Blazers feud was just so cute and silly. But they have secretly crazy fan bases, both of them.
I've never experienced basketball fans before, like outside of the college level, where like it's normal for them to just be just stupid about everything. But everyone here is stupid about everything when it comes to this. I mean, like, people really think that David Kahn like has it out for Paul Allen, that he's gonna like he's in his burn book, like trying to. It blew me away.
What I loved about the whole thing is I found out some information last week, basically that Portland didn't really want to match Batum, but Paul Allen just hates the Timberwolves so much because of the issues they've had over the last couple of years that he said there's no way he's going to Minnesota, and so that's basically why it was matched. And I heard, I mean, this is from multiple sources, so I feel like it's pretty legit. But Portland fans don't want to accept that. All they think is that the Timberwolves are trying to become the new Portland. Like, even John Hollinger and I have a little thing going. He thinks that because Minnesota has bike lanes now, and we have food trucks and stuff like that, that now Minnesota's trying to become like Portland East. And I don't think Minnesota cares about Portland, and I don't think Portland should care about Minnesota. It's two very different hipster cultures.
No, this really. I think I can see the vast abyss of insecurity, though, because if someone else became Portland, this whole thing would this house of cards, which is what even called Portland, it would all tumble down immediately.
I just love the shots that Neil O'Shea was taking at Minneapolis. Really no need. He was just like, I know David Kahn is the king of bad PR, but I'm just going to be a jerk for a few weeks and just really let him have it.
Did we confirm? I mean, was that 2 picks in Derek Williams' offer? Was that real?
One of the picks was Memphis, but yeah, it was. From what I've heard, it's pretty real.
So that's so stupid that they didn't take that. That's so.
Wow, it's insane. He's insane.
I can't. Look, like I said, I like Batum, but I also like Derek Williams. Probably isn't a 3, so LaMarcus Aldridge, it's like not a great situation. But I just can't figure out why you wouldn't rather have Derek Williams, who can do some things in a small ball lineup. I don't know. That seems so dumb to me.
It's very dumb. The fact that they, 1, didn't want to keep him for that price, and 2, could have really gotten away like bandits with the trade because Kahn is desperate to save his job and really thought like this. And I'm much higher on Batum than you are, clearly. I think he was horribly misused in Portland. I think he can be a lot better in a system that with like backdoor cutting guards and people that actually move off the ball. That's where I think he's valuable, and that's Rick Adelman's system. But at the same time, I understand why Portland wouldn't want to tie up cap space with that contract.
Well, but so here's my thing: is that Cutter, that off-the-ball player, isn't that what the Spurs pay like 9 guys $800,000 a year to do? Well, I don't know why Nick Batum has to be, $46 million to do just a slightly better version of Danny Green.
I love the city of Minneapolis, but it is not exactly a place that players want to come hang out. I mean, there are like 18 strip clubs around the Target Center. It's really hard not to walk into a strip club after a game. Just by accident, you think you're going to go get your car and you end up in one. But that's really the only draw for NBA players during the winter is you can just walk half a block and see some bare-chested ladies.
I mean, I guess my thing is like, if it's like, well, he knows how to play basketball, so we'll give him $12 million a year. There are other 6'8" guys who can catch a pass.
Yeah, but he did shoot really well from the corner three, which they struggle with. He can defend. He's a bad guy, like guarding spot-up shooters. That's where he gets killed. Isolation, he's great defensively. Other than that, did you watch Wes Johnson at all last year? I can't just to not have Wes Johnson and have a guy who's competent seems like a $12 million move.
Okay, but Batum is defensively. He's the Serge Ibaka of wing players. He makes the flashy plays, but he's just harebrained when it comes to actually doing team defensive work. He's not there yet, and so he looks prototypically like a defender, like Ibaka does. But you're paying for a player who hasn't happened yet. He might have it.
Right. But before Ricky Rubio went down, the Wolves were a top 15 defensive team with Pekovic, Love, Wes Johnson, Luke Rittenauer, and Ricky Rubio starting. Alvin's not a great defensive coach, but they were playing pretty good defense with a lineup that's not defensive at all. So I feel like Batum could have at least learned here.
Well, I think most of your wing stopping is locked up with Brandon Roy. You have a stopper there. An athletic, young defender.
Yeah, his knees are gonna die, like literally die. We're gonna have a funeral.
I try not to grimace when I think about him, and then I walk. I just think about the phrase "bone on bone."
Before I let Ethan have you, I just want to talk to you about Kendall Marshall. Should we start planning his retirement ceremony right now? Because I don't see him making it past really September in this league. He looks pretty bad.
All right, yeah. This is let's get your punches in now. I don't understand. Okay. I don't understand.
Well, I feel like I should throw punches because somebody here should be actually able to hit something because he can't hit anything.
Look, I didn't get a good look at him in summer league. But I think you pretty much know what he is. I don't see any reason why he won't be right around. I think his floor and his ceiling are pretty the same. He's going to be a poor man's Andre Miller. He's probably a really strong backup point guard. I don't really like the idea of jettisoning your franchise point guard with Kendall Marshall in the wings. But he's a good spot-up shooter. He's not much else.
I just want to say, Zach, are you overrating summer league to this degree? It's summer league. Who cares? Okay, I'll direct this at Danny. Given summer league, would you change your mind on something that we agreed on, which is that New Orleans should have drafted Marshall as opposed to Austin Rivers, or has that changed your mind based on this? What's happened?
No. Here's what I'll say though: is as much as I loathe him, Austin Rivers can do more than I thought he could. I don't think he's a starting point guard, but he can do more than I thought he could. All that said, I don't know why. If you have a guy who basically made a high-profile college career playing off worse versions of Anthony Davis, I don't know why you don't draft that guy and just start working on just lobs every play from the opposite free throw, just 80-foot lobs. He can do that.
I think the problem is that he's too used now to just throwing the ball to the other team. I've never seen such horrible point guard instincts in a summer league game, which I know that sounds like I'm overreacting to summer league. That guy was literally just handing the ball to the other team. It wasn't like he couldn't shoot or couldn't score. Like he couldn't pass the ball, and that's what he's supposed to be able to do.
Stephen Curry couldn't shoot in his first summer league run. I think he shot something like 34 or 35%. Summer league's not real.
Did he watch someone help off the ball, and then when the pass wasn't there, just hand it to the defense?
Dude, if you are looking for point guard instincts in summer league, that's like looking for tasteful tattoos at Six Flags, man. It's not the venue.
That's possible.
That's like looking for a wife at one of those institutions around the Target Center, Zach.
Some lovely ladies there. Okay, don't thumb your nose at them. I'm sure they're all
to pay for school.
They're paying for school. Wholesome Midwestern girls. Don't worry about it. I just find like you should have some kind of. If you're a pure point guard, you should have some kind of pure point guard qualities, even in the most basic of games.
But being a pure point guard, that he knows where, his whole game is knowing where his teammates are going to be. he has no way with 4 not quite NBA caliber players who are all looking to show out there. He's got no reason to have guys making the right play. And he doesn't create very much at all, but he's just masterful about exploiting what is there. Like Kendall Marshall's not going to make the whole offense, but where there are shots, he finds them.
A Chad Ford style question of fear then, directed at both of you, Danny first. Better NBA career, Harrison Barnes or Kendall Marshall?
Oh, God.
That's easy.
I had talked myself into saying Kendall Marshall, but it's clearly Harrison Barnes. I had gotten to Marshall like at the end of last college season. I was like, Kendall Marshall, he'll totally be Andre Miller, which could still happen and it probably won't. Harrison Barnes is going to be good.
All right, it's easily Harrison Barnes, but I want to get into this point. The reason he can't be Andre Miller, he doesn't have the butt. Andre Miller has a fantastically big and powerful butt. Kendall Marshall is just not there. His butt is not there.
Kendall's butt is fantastic. It is real.
Oh my God.
Fantastic.
Not if you're going to call him a poor man's Andre Miller. What would be a small-butted version of Andre Miller? Raymond Felton?
Zach. Do you think that maybe it's just about how you use the butt? Because Miller really juts his butt. He Chris Paul, for instance, he's a butt jutter. Some guys don't know how to use it when somebody is chasing them. They don't know how to just jab out and keep the defense at bay. Maybe Marshall just needs to learn.
If you don't use it, you lose it. And Andre Miller knew how to use it at Utah. He knew how to use it every step of the way. I didn't see that from Kendall Marshall. He does not know how to use his butt on a basketball court.
I think he's a starting point guard, and he's a starting point guard who is going to make bad players better. I don't think he's a starting point guard who is going to like I say, I don't think of him as a creator as much as like an exploiter, and he's really good at that.
When you call him a starting point guard, are you just basing this off the assumption that there are going to be 12 new teams in the league pretty soon?
Yeah, he'll start for the Guangdong province Tigers. He'll start.
Danny, do you have any Orlando Magic opinions? Since you have written a lot about that team, I want to know, on an emotional level, do you hate Dwight Howard, or are you, since you're a smart guy, are you above that kind of sentiment?
No, I'm above it. I'm above that sentiment.
Love it.
No, I don't hate him. I don't care. I just don't care. I think he's like, what do we know about Dwight Howard we didn't before? He's immature.
Yeah.
What?
What's interesting to me is that we often say that athletes are immature, but few guys are the caricature of immaturity that plays into the old, lame, white sports writer narrative about it. But I saw Dwight Howard when he signed the extension. It's like he had no idea how people saw him, and he was playing to those negative images where he's talking about candy. He was talking about candy. He was talking about how they had his favorite candy. I just think that he might be uniquely immature.
This is a hobby horse. This is a real hobby horse of mine now, because I think that the media environment players exist in is really conducive to blowing their insecurities out of the water. I mean, I think we saw this with LeBron. It's like they just get plugged into these feedback loops where they're forced to confront this weird symbol status they occupy in people's lives, but they don't want that mantle, but they really do want it. And it's like they realize that, they lose their perspective because they exist in a system that has no perspective. And I think that Dwight should never have signed that extension. It makes me, like, if I actually think about the fact that he signed an extension and that we're doing this again, it makes me want to like rend garments. but I can't. I don't. It doesn't seem like he seems like a symptom to me, not a cause.
Okay, well, this isn't so much a question as sort of a statement. You're getting married and you're 23. Do you have any idea how much pressure you're putting on me and my relationship? And do you you should feel guilty, I guess is what I'm saying. And also the question segment of that statement would be, do you feel a little bit guilty for what you're doing to me?
No. I enjoy making every man-child sphere of commitment become a central relationship issue. If you want to live your life like a Jason Segel character, I can't stop you.
Fantastic answer. And good luck as you continue to make us all feel awful.
I can't hear
Except for
anything.
Zach, right? You're on that path. I don't know. Right? No, you're just living with her. Oh yeah, no pressure. You're just living with her. There's a 23-year-old who's getting married.
Yeah,
Insane.
I'm gonna have, yeah, when we get off, I'm gonna go build like a I don't know, a baby pram with wood with my hands. I'm gonna
That's an
provide.
awful idea. Just a horrible idea.
I'm a provider.
You're gonna fell the tree in the front yard and rend it into a crib. That's beautiful.
He's just going to break the plumbing just to fix it, just to show us up.
Yeah, I don't. The only thing I know is a U-trap. I'm just gonna go in the toilet and mutter about U-traps, and then that'll.
The Don Draper of the True Hoop Network. Anyhow. Thanks a lot for coming on, man.
Oh, thanks. I always enjoy it. Thanks a lot.
All right, that was very cool. Danny Now. Follow him on Twitter, DM Nowell, 2 L's at the end of that.
Never watch a North Carolina game in his presence. It will terrify you. He starts threatening to kill people.
For all his smarmy, these guys don't know anything, Portland fans are weird and crazy. If you spend like 5 seconds with him, you're gonna have like bruise marks like you're like assault victim around your arm from him grabbing you in terror over like John Henson lifting his pivot foot. So grain of salt on everything he's just said. Good question for you two. What's your favorite video game character from what I can only assume is Yak Saward?
I'd have to go with Sonic. Sonic is he's pretty solid. Although Tails is also up there. I just like they move so fluidly. They move.
Love for Knuckles?
Nah, not really. They moved so well. Mario, he's bulky. He's like he's like Shaq. He's just I don't want any of that. Sonic moves like a point guard. If I'm making a basketball analogy, and that's why I enjoyed watching him.
I'll go Solid Snake from Metal Gear. Whatever the main character was, I don't know which Snake that was. Maybe it was Liquid Snake, but whichever the good one was, I like that guy because if you just stood there for 4 minutes, he would start smoking a cigarette, which is a great message to kids.
Well, aside from everything else in that movie, which is killing doesn't have consequences, it's fun. And I just said movie because I'm 900 years old. Video game. I'm gonna go with Link because that's my favorite video game ever. Ocarina of Time.
What about can I pick all of the Battletoads?
Especially the Goron Sword.
Is there no love for Star Fox?
Star Fox sucks.
I mean, no love for Star Fox. Like maybe Falco. Falco is pretty rad.
God, nerds. I don't know how you can call people nerds for liking video games, but you like are super into every little character in Star Wars. Like you get mad if someone doesn't know the name of the Tom or whatever the hell it's called.
I don't even know what you're talking about. First off,
The hell you know?
I assume you're talking about a Wampa. Well, if you don't know what a Wampa is, then I just don't even know what to do with you.
Am I weird for preferring Star Trek to Star Wars? Is that something? Are we at the moment in time where you can claim being a Star Trek fan and not be thought of as a social leper and get left alone at the metaphorical cafeteria table?
No, because Shatner has like gone all the way around. He went from like being terrible, being liked to being terrible.
Nah, man. Nah. I'm not talking about Shatner.
Now I think no one likes it. Yeah, but that Shatner is the first thing in
TNG. I'm talking Next Generation. I'm talking Deep Space Nine.
What I love about this conversation is that we're not really. I mean, unless we pull out some Doritos and Mountain Dew, we don't sound anything like bloggers right now. This is fantastic.
All right, basketball question from a friend of the show, Kirk Serious-Face. Why doesn't Kobe come off the bench? These slow starts in Team USA games are getting old. I'm going to just twist this question to what I would like it to, which is what should be the starting 5 for Team USA?
I think Kobe should be in the starting 5. I actually, even though they had a slow start and didn't perform that well against Spain, I like that starting 5. I think it works well to go Chris Paul, Kobe Bryant, LeBron, Durant, Tyson Chandler. That's my favorite lineup because you don't really have a great shooting guard option to spell Bryant. James Harden is, I like James Harden a lot. Not sure he's better than Kobe. And Iguodala, I like him a lot as well. But he's not the best shooter in the world, so that's my favorite.
What's your obsession with the shooting guard position?
Oh, there just are very few shooting guards. It's an irrational obsession.
That's a specific position that, like why can't Darren Williams play shooting guard as an Olympian?
Excellent question.
He's not very long. I mean, he's not totally stubby, but I'm not exactly sure if he's going to be able to guard larger twos. Like,
James Harden can't guard larger twos.
James Harden can't guard anyone.
I don't. Well, Darren Williams is a bad defensive player in my opinion. The lineups he's in often perform worse defensively, as noted by Hollinger. And even though we talked about him having perhaps an advantage over Chris Paul because he's larger, he's a thicker dude. It doesn't necessarily translate to him being great on D. So between him and Harden, I'm not sure that that'd be a distinguishing factor. But I'm also not sure that Darren Williams is better than James Harden offensively. Why are we talking about Harden?
I think because you brought him up. I think the problem isn't with the lineups. It's with trying to come out of the gate, out of like introductions and the anthem and all that stuff with defensive intensity that they need. Like that's when the team really thrives, is when they're just flying all over the floor, and that's hard to do off the first jump ball of the game. So I think that's the reason for the slow starts and not anything having to do with the lineups.
Yeah, I just want to air a pet peeve, and I was going to make this. I've been yapping about this on the old Twitter machine. And I was going to a pet peeve. It maybe should have been a dagger smash noted. Actually, screw these caveats. I'm just going in on it. I'm sick of the narrative of this guy's great for the international game. It's pretentious, and a lot of people who don't know and can't make that judgment just say it. They just say it.
Don't you say that about Dwayne Wade?
No, I said that Dwayne Wade is not the archetypal guy who's great at the international game. No one has ever described him as such, and yet he was America's best player for a world championship and an Olympics, and that, to me, disproves the notion that there's this perfect guy for the international game who's an outside shooter.
Well, I think that what's funny is that like these guys like LeBron and Carmelo, who take a lot of 22-footers or 20-footers, which we hate, are now like pretty decent three-point shooters because that's their like crappy shot that they love to take. Anyway, let's just go to our next guest, someone I'm really excited to have on because she has excellent depth of knowledge on two really interesting subjects, the Celtics offseason and Summer League. Joining us from Boston, Jess Camerato. How are you doing? Good. All right.
I didn't know what the word was.
Oh, yeah, no.
Kind of
Your background is like, is that sponge painting? That's very nice.
It's amazing.
I did some arts and crafts before I came on the show.
Well, when you see Ethan's green screen, it'll be especially flattering.
I like that. Like second grade school photo, like laser beams in the background.
That would actually be great if it was just like stars whizzing by him in the background.
Exactly.
Shouldn't he be on a ladder right now?
Let's talk about the Celtics offseason. They had a very active one. A whole new bench, got a lot more athletic on the wings, lost Ray Allen. All in all, sum it up for us.
It was funny, I was looking at Avery Bradley's Twitter picture last night, and he's like running by the bench celebrating, and Keon Dooling is the only person left on that bench. They've done a complete overhaul in a very short amount of time. But you have to give Danny Ainge props, especially for this Courtney Lee trade. He basically took a bunch of guys that I think last season we all knew they weren't going to get much out of. They weren't going to use them a lot. He manages to ship them out, throws in that draft pick from the Jeff Green trade, and all of a sudden you have Courtney Lee, who with Avery Bradley being out is going to play a huge role. So he made a lot out of the little that they had. A lot of fans were upset that Greg Steensma walked, but he's the kind of player, he had a breakout season. Go to Minnesota, do your thing.
He's a white guy.
Take your money. He's a fan favorite. I don't think no one's mad at him like they're upset about Ray Allen. But that last signing, they're just doing the Keon Dooling move. I do like that, just because he brings that veteran presence back in there. You have Jason Terry, who's a great vet guy, but he hasn't been on the team yet. So Keon's going to bring that Reverend Dooling flair back to the locker room.
Right, and Jet is also a great quote. You'll enjoy talking to him too, I'm sure. Let's focus in on Jeff Green, which was a lot of people. That contract keeps changing. I actually don't really know where it is now. Maybe you can update us on that first, and then we'll get into Jeff Green, the player on the Celtics.
Well, it's not official yet. Right now, they're just working out some kinks. But from the people that I've talked to, they expect it to get done. So you know how things go, technicalities.
Right. So he's going to be probably their best athlete on the wing. He can go kind of between positions 3 and 4, but that's where he's also struggled with them. Is they got Paul Pierce at small forward. Garnett is now an official center, but for a while he was a power forward. Where does he fit into this team, and do you think that the problems that he had initially when he came to Boston are going to be remedied?
Well, I see him backing up Paul Pierce. That was the problem for the past few years. They haven't had a true backup for him, so he ends up playing all these minutes. He gets these injuries that require rest, like the knee injury that he had, and there's no answer for that. I didn't think that Jeff Green clicked well enough when he came here with the team. I was disappointed with his first season. But after last year, having an entire off season, he spent a lot of time with these guys, came to a majority of the playoff games, so he's more comfortable. And even though he hasn't been on the court with them, just in conversation, I think he's probably going to understand the system a lot better, just with the familiarity that he has with them.
Sure, and it's also he's not coming off of being, his injury is one thing, but also being uprooted from his first NBA experience with a lot of guys that he was really close with. The Celtics, is the 2 seed a realistic goal now? What's the optimism meter in Boston right now? Because they're saying blow it up 12 months ago.
It's very high now. This team went from, oh my goodness, Ray Allen went to Miami, the world is falling down, there's going to be rioting at the Garden, to now all of a sudden you look, their bench is better than last year. They're better than they were last year. So I think the optimism is very high. Fans really believe they were just one game away from making it to the NBA Finals. I personally think if Bosh had been playing the whole time, the series would have been shorter. But fans are still riding high on that momentum from the Eastern Conference Finals. So they're coming in, looking at that first game down in Miami against Ray, already ready to go. So, yeah, I think that they could still have a high seed in the East. Oh, there we go with the background.
I'm wondering, there was a lot of talk about this tension between Ray Allen and Rajon Rondo. You're around the team a lot. Is that overblown, or is that real? Is that something that actually happened?
I think it's personality differences. I don't think there was this huge drag-down, blowout fight. There was one thing that I noticed was that Rondo and Ray Allen had sat next to each other the entire time that Ray Allen had been in Boston. Until this year, Rondo actually moved into Kendrick Perkins' old locker, which was next to Keon Dooling. It was the first time he was next to a true veteran point guard, so that gave him a little bit more leadership in the locker room. I don't know if that's because of any tension between the two of them. There wasn't much made of that. But regardless of what the issue was, these guys did not carry it onto the court with them. And I think that's the biggest thing to recognize. You didn't notice it on the court, and that really speaks to their level of play.
From the outside perspective, it seems as though there's a connection between Kevin Garnett and Rondo. There's a little bit of Dr. Evil and Mini-Me, an appearance of that in the press conferences. Do they share a similar personality, and do they share a connection of sorts?
They are close. They're very different, but they're both very interesting personalities. They're very intense in their own way. KG with that glaring stare where you feel like he's burning through your soul with his eyes, and then Rondo with his quick one-word answers. They are both very intense in their own ways, but yeah, they do have that kind of mini-me thing going on. They're interesting to watch.
Is there a longer-term plan going forward for the Celtics? Because right now it seems like they're trying to hold on to what they have. Is there any sense that they're going to be free agent players in the next few years, or is it right now just about maintaining?
Well, at first glance, it looks like right now it's just keeping those veterans for another 2 years or 3 years. But what you can see happen is they've kind of closed the age gap between the players. So it's not just the old guys and the young guys anymore. You have these guys in their mid-20s, the Jeff Green, Courtney Lee, Brandon Bass. So as Paul Pierce and KG get older, as they're going to need more rest, you can kind of transition those guys into more of a starting role. So you have these veterans kind of on their way out, bringing up the young guys behind them. So when Paul and KG do leave, it's not like you're left with nothing anymore.
Yeah, I'm wondering, do you think that it seems like free agents should want to come to Boston? Doc Rivers has a lot of respect, and it seems like people want to play for him. Do you buy into the notion that Boston isn't a free agent destination like a lot of people do?
Listen, I've lived in Boston my whole entire life. This is not exactly a tropical paradise in December and January. It's cold, there's snow, it stinks to drive. But there are a lot of other destinations where when you're playing a winter sport, it would be more appealing to go to. But at the same time, there are certain guys who appreciate the banners and the rafters. They appreciate the tradition. They appreciate having their butts busted by veterans and Doc Rivers. So I think there are certain types of players, but this is not a glamorous place to play. It's where you play if you buy into basketball.
I think there's also sort of a thing with fans around the NBA where if there's not a plan in place to like land a franchise savior, even if one isn't out there, it feels like the front office isn't doing enough. Where I see this Celtics team probably going to win between 48 and 52 games, maybe a few more if health holds up. I mean, I'm worried about Garnett basically. If Garnett is healthy all season, they could win in the high 50s. Like he's that whole team. But on the other hand, like this is a very cool thing that Celtics fans are going to get to have again because they didn't blow it up, and you never know when the next time you're going to have even a team that wins in the mid-50s around, especially if you're not LA. Basically, every other city besides LA seems to struggle with that, and so I don't know. What is your perspective on that? Are you for the blow it up model, or are you for the hang on to it for as long as you can model?
Last season, when they were struggling, they couldn't figure out how to win more than one game in a row, I was not a fan of the keep it around forever. And that's what happened, after the 80s era and that dynasty, and then they were bad. And then my first season, I covered a 24-win team, and it was a disaster. But if you can keep the guys but still win, if you can keep the guys but then surround them with other pieces, I say make it work. Ray Allen, like I said, a lot of people are upset about it, but I think it's going to help them with the new players they have. So if you can keep Kevin Garnett around, this guy honestly does not even have to be on the court to help this team. As long as he's in that locker room, keeping Rondo in check, helping the young guys along the way, that's why he's valuable here.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I think Garnett is just so phenomenal on defense, and his chemistry with Doc defensively is why the Celtics are who they are as a franchise, in my opinion. Let's shift to Summer League, where there is Jared Solinger, who you saw there. He's had a very strong showing from all accounts. Is he going to start, you think?
I don't think just yet, no. They like him on defense, but his offense wasn't as consistent as you would like it to be for somebody who's starting. You look, and there were a lot of...
Do you mean that his defense wasn't as consistent, but he liked his offense? Or do you mean that his offense was good?
Did I mess it up? Did I switch it around?
I don't know. My mind would be blown if he was like, oh, he's a great defender, but he can't score around the rim.
Well, no, his shots, there were games, and you look, and he's going like 3 for 13. He has to still find his rhythm. A lot of shots were forced. I think he has a lot of potential, but we have to remember with him, he's 20 years old. He's very, very young. And I actually...
He just got the butt of a 40-year-old.
What?
He has the butt of a 40-year-old. He's got the big man butt. That's crucial in the NBA.
He's a bulky guy. It's good for boxing out. Okay, well, with that. But the thing with Jared is it's going to be a process with him because he has had so much success in high school. He hardly ever lost. So this is going to be a transition period for him. He's not going to have that same amount of success all the time. I don't think he's a starter right now, but I think he could be.
So who does start at the 4?
Brandon Bass.
Okay.
Yeah.
So KG is just the center from now on. Is that his new role?
Yeah. So he gave them much more of an athletic look when they were, this sounds ironic because of how old and how many years he's been in the league. But they were just able to do more things with him at the 5 and be a little bit more athletic. So, and if he's not the 5, I mean, who is? Because it is not going to be Fab Melo right now.
Fab Melo era.
I was about to ask about that.
Give that to me in 3 years when that era starts. No, Fab is excited to learn, and that's what's important about him. See a little bit. He knows. He just started playing basketball like a minute ago compared to everybody else.
Should I interpret excited to learn as maybe not the highest ceiling? Am I wrong and mean for interpreting it that way?
Fab knows that he has things that he needs to learn from Kevin Garnett.
All right, our producer.
Comment about the 40-year-old thing.
Hey, he's got Andre Miller booty. It's like an important part of a certain kind of NBA player.
Is that as good for boxing out?
Yeah, and doing all number of things. I mean, Carmelo Anthony, that's like a big part of his game. Just throws that rump into someone, moves them out, and finishes. Anyway.
No matter how rebounding gets done, as long as the Celtics have another rebounder on the team, just take it however you can get it.
Yeah, exactly. I want to ask quickly about Deontay. Well, I don't want to ask about him that much, but our producer, Pekin James Herbert, is badgering us in the staff chat about Deontay Christmas. Who is this guy, and is he the second coming of also Deontay Christmas, I guess?
Deontay Christmas has a partially guaranteed contract with the Celtics. He was kind of like, how every summer league there's like that guy that just pops out of nowhere and everybody thinks maybe he's going to become an all-star someday. I don't think he's at that level. But he went undrafted out of Temple. He's been kicking around overseas. Got a lot of offers to go back overseas. But basically at this point it was choosing between overseas and the money or the chance to play in the NBA, and he's going with the NBA. He showed them a lot, and especially after trading each one more, he's a good fit for what they need.
Nice. All right, so your outlook on the Celtics this season is?
I believe they could finish second in the East. Well, I don't know if we're going to keep talking there.
This is my signal for you to talk.
Okay, so I believe they're going to be better than last season. I really do. As long as KG stays healthy, that's a big if. But I think their bench has been vastly improved. The fact that they don't even necessarily have to freak out over the fact that Avery Bradley is injured right now is huge for them. Losing Avery Bradley to shoulder surgery, losing Ray Allen, and they're still in good shape. So I think they will have improved from last season.
Definitely, much deeper. Well, thanks a lot, Jess, and we'll have you back on once we get the season going.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.
All right.
Thanks, Jess.
Bye.
That was Jess Camerado, and I'd like to reintroduce Mr. Zach Harper, who is rejoining the show for Dagger Smash Noted, and I'm just going to throw you right into the flames, Zach.
Oh,
give us a dagger.
How about this for a dagger? Let's stop talking about guys being ahead of schedule with ACL injuries. Until they start running, until they start doing any kind of basketball activities that doesn't involve playing in a pool or lifting weights with your arms, we should really stop saying, hey, Ricky Rubio's ahead of schedule right now. Derrick Rose is ahead of schedule. Until they start running,
perfect for the international game.
Well, that's true. But until they start running, nobody's ahead or behind schedule because there is no schedule. That's when you get your schedules, when you start running and doing actual impact things. So I'm sick of hearing that this guy's going to be okay, he's going to start the season, he's going to be fine, because we don't know.
Yeah, I want my smash to be, because we brought it up earlier, I don't even care how nerdy it sounds. These are my honest thoughts. I'm bearing my soul to you, few listeners and watchers of Hoopspeak Live. The Next Generation was the best Star Trek, and it's not close. There's some nostalgia. It's like when we fetishize an old era of basketball that wasn't as good. That Shatner Star Trek is nothing like the Captain Picard-led Starship Enterprise. And hipsters who try to say that Deep Space Nine was better, it can't be better because Sisko was boring. He was a boring captain.
Good
a great
God! What the hell are you talking about?
Patrick Stewart has the gravitas to carry that ship, and you have great peripheral characters like Geordie LaForge and of Reading Rainbow, and also Data, who was, in my opinion, a better version of Spock. So TNG, that's the best. It really shouldn't be a debate, and it just needs to be said.
He can't even look at you right now. This is how disgusted he is with your nerddom. He can't even look at you.
All right, I've got the noted, and it builds off a conversation we were having earlier about Ethan's story about players being friends. I think that the overarching thing here and what's happened in the NBA, especially in the last 15 years, is, and maybe the last 5 years really specifically, is if you're LeBron James or Kevin Durant or Chris Paul, basically from the time you're 8 to the time that you can enter the NBA, people are making money and trying to exploit you from all around. Then you finally get in the NBA and you have to sign a rookie contract that you're actually worth more than. And then, if you're really good, then you sign a max contract, but because, modern economics being what they are, you know that you're worth more than that. So your whole career is basically other people trying to exploit you. Now, who are you going to be friends with? The guys who are trying to exploit you or the people who are sharing this experience? And I think that's why there's sort of this movement for these young players to claim their own destiny and determine where they go, is because the whole system is set up to exploit them, and their only method of kind of exploiting it right back is to work together and to be friends and to learn business tricks from each other, and that's why I am all for it.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, it doesn't matter though. Like what you're saying doesn't matter because they make millions of dollars. So nobody has problems once they make millions of dollars. It's just life is perfect. So there's really nothing to worry about. So I think your point is completely null and void.
Well, actually, it turns out people do have problems when they make that much money, which is why I'm trying to avoid ever making money. I don't want those problems.
I also wanted to add some. There are some caveats to what I said earlier. Diana Troy and Riker were very weak characters. That mustache was something that could fly in the 90s, but I don't think could fly today. And Troy was that actress just wasn't very good. Everything that she sensed with her telepathy was just very obvious. It was very obvious to everybody. You didn't need somebody to unveil that for you. So I just needed to add. It's very important. I needed to add those caveats.
Okay, well, and with that, I think we're ready to end Hoopspeak Live. Goodbye, Zach's dog. Thank you to our guests, Danny Now and Jess Camerato. Thank you to everyone who watched. And to our producer, Peepin' James Herbert. Have a good week and see you next week.